of apple juice there, possibly as the evening progresses. Good for you. So we got Will o' the Wisp, we got Change, we got UFOs now, UAPs. Hortense, were you about to?
UAP.
Is it UAP?
Yeah, what does that stand for?
Unidentified aerial phenomenon.
Oh,
Wow.
I know, right?
Yeah, a mouthful.
Yes.
And
Actually, hang on.
oh, what
yeah,
are we?
right. Okay.
I mean, Mikey seems
Where is Moderate Scully?
Mikey seems to be getting at a world without mystery. Do we live in a world without mystery? Have we explained everything away? How many people have seen a ghost here?
Don't forget to bring in Ollie as well. We've got in over here, Simon.
Oh, sorry, Ollie, I didn't see you behind. Ollie, do you want to introduce yourself and say hello?
Oh, yeah. My name's Ollie Hack. I live in Romford. I was at ex-local in Aberfeldy village since about 96. And I've just come here and there just to see the development in the area and just take part in the community and stuff.
Ah, good evening, Dele. And what do you make of it? You must be a ninja, man. You sneaked in there. I didn't even see you come in.
Yeah, no, I was a bit late. There was a bit of traffic. But,
Countdown Ninja.
Yeah.
What do you make of it? What are the impressions?
In terms of?
Like the changes?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. There's a lot of changes in terms of what's going on with the employment, the curriculum, loads of things that are basically changing for people within the families as well.
Yeah.
So obviously we can go deeper into it if you have to, but it'll take a bit longer than like a short kind of interval. So yeah.
Change is complicated, right? And lot to say. Well, thank you very much for that little intro there, I'm sure. And I hope we'll be hearing a lot more from you this evening. I'm sure we will. So we got Change, we got London, Evolving, Rasheen, yes, and Milder as well. Are just going to observe, and that's absolutely fine as well. We're just really glad to have you on board. Naja as well, welcome. So anybody else? London is changing.
Hello.
It's always changed. Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hey, Dele.
Yeah.
Hi, Mikey. How are you? Sorry, I had problems logging in. That's why I'm late. Sorry to be late. I had problems logging in, but I'm happy to be here now. Love
and
you,
we're
loads.
happy to have you. And we're happy to have you,
Thank you so much.
Hey, Dele,
so I don't know what the purpose is about, but I'd like to know.
Well, I think you're about to set the agenda, right? We've had change, we've had UFOs, we've had change again in East London. What's going on for you this week?
I've just been going crazy writing.
What are you writing?
I'm writing the short play and a collection of poems as well. Collection of poetry as well.
Oh wow! Huh?
Yeah.
Is there a theme?
It's on madness. Madness, mental health. That's right.
Madness. Okay.
Madness, yeah.
Badness of society, people.
Badness of society and badness of the mind as well.
Badness of that's a lovely expression. Badness of the mind. Yeah. And when can we see it or hear it?
Well, I'm still working on the collection at the moment, so I'm still editing at this point in time. But once I'm done, I will certainly put some around to people speak to, can have a read and see what's going on.
Fantastic. Is there anybody else here who writes? It doesn't have to be professionally. I mean, anyone else here who maybe you write a little bit of poetry or you like to do a bit of prose?
I've just written a book, my first one.
Yeah, do tell.
Yes.
No, that's quite a feat. So let's have a moment for that. You've written a book. That's an achievement.
Yeah.
Well done.
Well, yeah, hopefully. Yeah. Do you want me to tell you a little bit of the plot?
Do we want to say again, Ian? Say again?
Yeah. Would you like me to tell you a bit of the plot?
I would, yeah. I hope everyone else would. I certainly would.
Yeah. Well, it's about a person, a hostel dweller, who sleeps in a square one night and outside a radio station. In the radio station, they have a game called Name That Voice. I don't know if people have heard of that. We get 3 voices. That's been going on for ages. It now stands at £150,000. There's a DJ that gets the sack from the radio station, and on the way out, he sees this down and out, and he reckons that he can change his life by giving him the third name of the voices, one that everybody can't get. And the story is of how Belfast Tommy, being the guy that is on the street, he has to get a mobile phone by the end of the day, and the story is all about how he achieves that.
Excellent, excellent. Well done. What they do say, everyone has one book in them. Has anyone else written a book, thinking about a book? Do you have a novel in you? Anyone like to share it? Anyone? Unmute yourself and dive
Well,
in.
I read an article about self-publishing being actually a new, like, the article was actually encouraging people to do self-publishing rather than looking for a publisher. And apparently there is a lot of writers that, like, famous writers from the past that did it and were very successful.
Yeah.
So you know what, Laura, Wojtek, he's recording stuff. Ian's telling a story. You're talking about self-publishing. Is there a bit of a theme coming here of getting people, I don't know, sharing their experiences? Everyone's, Ollie, maybe have you ever thought about recording your experiences?
In terms of specifically?
Well, just, you know, the changes you see, your life, the change you see in East London.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've got like a social media page on Instagram where I've just been kind of recording my own types of videos and just giving kind of guidance to certain people from objective criteria, etc., just to see how they can manage through these kind of difficult situations that we're facing across the whole nation, not just the city of London as well. So yeah.
Do you want to give it a plug? Can we find it?
It's on my Instagram. You can give me a follow and maybe just sit down and have a listen of it later.
Yeah, what is it?
My Instagram page is OLIHAQQ.
OLIHAQQ. OLIHAQQ.
Yeah.
I'm certainly going to do that. Interested to see what you say. So we've got self-publishing, we've got recording the changes you see around them. We've got so Ollie, if I understood correctly, you're helping other people by sharing your experiences. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
My experiences from when I was young and to what we may face in the future as well.
Yeah.
And just give a bit of guideline just to see how people can kind of cope through this situation that we're going through right now.
Any key advice? I mean, you know, who doesn't need a little extra hand this year in 2020?
Mainly the younger generation. It's just the immoralities that are being widespread amongst the media, etc., and just kind of guiding them away from that, just to keep their sanity as well. And that's the best way to kind of progress as a human being as well, and also within the families, etc.
Okay, so we've got Victoria. Yeah. Hello. Welcome.
What sort of immoralities do you mean? Like being spread amongst younger people? I'm just curious.
The moralities, the bad moralities you said.
Was it Wojtek just said there were like some immoralities being spread amongst young people? Like what sorts in particular? Just curious because...
Yeah, absolutely. So for example, when people face difficulties with employment, they'll tend to compromise. No, I'm okay, thank you. They'll tend to compromise their kind of earning money as well. So when the media is portraying an immoral way to attain money, there's a lot of the younger generation and some of the adult that would compromise themselves to go and attain that type of financial freedom, which doesn't really exist per se. So,
Ollie, can I just check? Sorry, can people hear this? I've got a message from Jennifer, says she can't hear Ollie.
Hang on.
Can people hear? Let me just check. Are we getting? Give me a little wave if you're getting Ollie.
Just say that again, Ollie, because you might have been a bit.
Yeah, can anyone hear me?
You coming down?
Yeah, I've got a couple of waves there.
That's better, Ollie. Yeah, a bit close to the mic. Yeah.
Yeah. So just answering the question that they asked me in terms
of. And what kind of? You said like some kind of media. Is there anything specific that you're talking about?
Yes. So in terms of what you asked in terms of immorality has been widespread and how to kind of guide people away from that. One small example, which is quite a larger scale, is like the methodology of how they earn money. When there's kind of difficulties with employment, they compromise their kind of selves in terms of how they attain money to like attain a financial freedom, and it doesn't really exist. So they you know, if the media is portraying like heists from like bank robbery movies and drug dealing and music, etc., these younger generation will kind of be indoctrinated by that. And they'd go out and try and actually live that life that the kind of media movies are portraying, and then it affects us in the actual real life of where we are.
Mikey?
I just want to agree with that it certainly happens to the young people around where I live. My neighbours are very much, they almost sort of, they're living in a kind of gangster movie. Money from selling drugs, and they just live this, in a way it's an unreal life because they think they're gangsters and they're just young kids that are growing up on a local estate in Hackney. And I think it is a big problem because you know, compared to just getting a job working in Tesco's or something like that, it's a lot more glamorous to think that you're a gangster.
Absolutely, yeah.
So is this a theme coming out about telling your own story when the stories that the mainstream are giving you are not ones that you can relate to? Is that?
Well, I mean, I just think it's quite interesting because I remember like when I watched Skins in school, I really felt like I wanted to go and party, like really inspired me to just go crazy. But in the same time, I think it wouldn't have happened if I think the TV show wasn't necessarily some kind of huh? I'm saying like, but TV show, it was just like a trigger, I guess, in some ways, because there was already like some kind of background set for it. I think I don't think basically that TV show on its own can trigger anyone to do anything, unless, I don't know, just maybe go and buy some more chess, as with this like new.
You're talking about Queen's Gambit there.
Yeah. Well, okay, that's fine, but I just don't really believe that like media on its own can just really, really force someone to do something. I think you have to have some kind of circumstances that they did the groundwork beforehand. So
we're going to go to Margot in a second. So is the media reflecting life, or is life reflecting the media?
I think there's an opportunity. Sorry.
Yes.
Go on, Piotr.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, just going to the same topic. I mean, media. I understand media as well, like social media, which, in my opinion, has got big influence in our lives, especially in the younger generations, where like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube video blogs as well. It's like where the youngsters are going right now, like young generations going right now, and actually looking for someone to follow, actually to encourage their style of life as well, in my opinion.
I guess what I'm trying to say is that, for example, with a teenagers start going partying after watching a TV show, I think it's only big for me. For example, for me, it would be the case of like maybe something beforehand already like set the groundwork where like he wouldn't. Maybe he was always like maybe in a bit of a strict environment or something like that. Maybe because basically I'm saying like, for example, in the case of teenager going partying after watching the show, it's mostly because maybe he was controlled a lot as well. He didn't realize, but maybe like his parents were controlling him a lot, so he doesn't really know. He doesn't really maybe he hasn't had the freedom before that much.
So you mean
like real life circumstance? I don't think. Just don't really.
Can we bring in Paul? He's had his hand up for a little while. Paul,
I have. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Paul.
Can you hear me? Hello, folks.
Yeah.
All right.
Loud and clear.
All right. I'd love to put in on this. This is really great conversation. I've got a few things to offer, so bear with me. So what I think is that there's Marshall McLuhan. I don't know much about people. Loads of people who talk about him, but not many have read him, and I'm one of them. But what it is, I do understand that what happened is that like people through media is like a fish swimming in water, and sometimes you have to take the fish out of the water to make it understand what it's swimming in. And you can't do it once, you have to do it a few times and let it flap around and let it just breathe oxygen. And unless it's a lungfish, which is like adapted to walking up onto the beach, or in a really slow process of evolution, then you get a sense of actually breathing outside the water. And media is this constant thing that surrounds us, where it's a background noise. And background noises affect you. So what happens, I think, if you have a certain angle, like a bias, it'll follow that. And then what happens is with this online malarkey, I'm an IT trainer, by the way, so I have been for about 20 years. So what it is, that it's an internal dialogue. If you look at the history of chatbots and Eliza, which was built around psychological principles, it's very telling. People will follow their own internal dialogue. But what
Can you
happens
say
is
what
that
Eliza is? Sorry, what's Eliza?
Eliza is a very early chatbot. It was
Sorry, what's a chatbot? Excuse my ignorance.
Oh, a chatbot. Okay. So it's a very modern. So we've got an Eliza, which is just like something that you say hello to, and it goes hi there, and then it basically repeats back at you what you've just said.
Oh.
It says, "I'm not feeling too good today," and it goes, "Oh, why you're not feeling too good today?" And then it says, "Oh, okay, I'm."
Just said.
But it just doesn't repeat it, but it twists it just to frame it into a question. It's a psychological proposition.
So it frames it into a question.
Exactly.
I see what you're doing there, Mikey. Paul. So I think Paul's. Yeah, we got George. By the way, Paul, I'm getting River Weir. Am I right?
You what?
I'm getting the River Weir, or are you more time?
Well, I just want to just finish off on this quickly, if just a little bit of time. So what happens is with psychological sort of aspects, it's all internal, and modern media is a very internal thing, and it's about reflection. The projection is when you actually do stuff and also actually present your opinions, which is also an internal reflection. So yeah, I'm gabbling, but yeah, there's a lot of things that are going on internally that needs to be addressed, how we actually address one another in summary.
Right, so we're looking at, okay, we've got a quick flash of on the Wikipedia there of Eliza chatbot. So we're all learning something tonight. So Paul, if I understood correctly, we're surrounded by this thing and it's influencing us. Is that a fair summation of what, Margot?
Yeah, I wouldn't dare summarizing what Paul said, but I have heard about Eliza, and I think it's a very interesting thing. But what I wanted to go back to is like the kind of glamorization of certain lifestyles which maybe are not, for instance, I'm working with young people now on a different project, and I've noticed, because now I kind of give these young people my number so they can contact me and tell me whether they want to join the program or whatever. But then a lot of these young people, they have pictures on WhatsApp like posing with guns, and I'm like, it's probably nothing, but I think it's reflecting something which I just don't understand. And I think, but also what I think is quite a good opportunity these days, specifically with social media and the fact that everybody's got, or many people have smartphones and stuff like that. Oh, someone's inhaling really nicely there. I think it's you.
Yeah, that was me. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. So I think there's an opportunity with social media and the access to technology that we have now, which we haven't before, is that we can be protagonists of our own stories, and we can actually put into the world and into young people the stories which are positive, they show positive things, and they can be protagonists and kind of heroes of their own story. So they can take control of the media, narrative, whatever it is. But also I'd like to point out from the chat, that's me finished making my point, but from the chat, we had a comment from Rasheen. Rasheen, I'm going to read it out. I hope that's okay. Rasheen said, am I the only person that thinks that being a drug dealer is a viable career option? No, I don't know. Maybe we can do show of hands.
Okay, bonsoir Stephanie, bonsoir, bienvenue, and Victoria, you've got a point.
Oh, Kate also had a point in the studio.
Yeah. Well, and actually I studied film production, and it was really funny to see, funny to me, to see how many of my classmates made short films with the guns in them, like somebody shooting someone, and apparently it's like a big thing when you're like film student. A lot of people just shoot a lot of short films with the guns because it's just what they see in films all the time. I think it's just, I don't know, maybe it's partly to do also with the fact that we are like living in America-centric kind of culture, and everything is just around, like, a lot of it is like reflection of what we see, but it's not even, not different. different countries have different rules for guns and stuff like that, but a lot of it I feel like is just reflection of this like Americanized culture that is surrounding us. Because what you said, this example that Margot said, I think just reminded me of this. The experience I had at uni. So,
Katie, I think you want to jump in.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to join because we went from books to morality to a lot of information on the media. And very recently, I had a quite extensive discussion online on the topic. And there are some intellectuals who have done a lot of research on the subject over decades. And they found a very interesting fact. Our brain, from all our sensory organs, receives millions of bits of information per second. However, our conscious mind is limited to 41 bits per second. So a few hundred years, there was like amount of information a person would consume over a lifetime would be approximately one newspaper of today. And with the smartphone age, the information available to us literally overwhelmed our brain capacity physically. So now we are at a point where it's no longer possible to consume enough information to get proper, wide, broad outlook. We end up picking a direction and we will see whatever we are looking for. Whatever topic we raise, whatever opinion we raise, there is so much information, we will always find something to satisfy it. But this is, I think, the time when we need to start looking for different ways to look at the information, to look how we are dealing with it, because we're literally at our physical limit. We're way past it, actually, way past it. And I've heard, might be a little bit of inside information. Apparently, a lot of Kickstarters and some other companies are now working to tackle this particular problem. Mm-hmm. I will not tell the keyword just yet because I was given it in private, but there are a lot of projects which essentially want to create a tool that will be very personal and independent from anything else. However, you can train it to find the information as you want. And that way to kind of be a filter for what comes at you from the media, from the internet, and so on, and to fix the problem of finding the information. Because last 1 year, even though it was lockdown and I was on follow, I spent on average 10 hours a day researching various science, published articles, and a lot of other, and historic accounts, and so on. And I found that I missed over 99% of the things that were happening during that time in the world. So with a job, with a life, it's absolutely impossible to find out what's happening.
Mm-hmm. So I think, I know Victoria is dying to jump in there. So if I understood correctly, kind of echoing Paul's point that we're surrounded by all this stuff and it's shaping who we are and what we think.
Yes,
and,
essentially at the moment, the social media websites have the control to choose what we see. Yeah. And there are people who want to push it where it would become personal and independent.
Okay, great. So Victoria, I could see you getting excited about that, and Mikey as well. I think
sorry, two things is like what I just heard. It reminds me of this idea. I heard this idea before that like you come home, you sit on the couch and you put your hand on this like remote, and remote, for example, reads your mood, reads your emotions, and then kind of searches for whatever you want to watch according to your mood. That's just something I heard. Idea. I thought that really would be cool. Maybe when
the technology is there and it just needs your picture.
Mikey. And then Ian.
Then there was another, so that just reminded me about that idea. I thought it's like kind of similar in some ways, but also I wanted to make a point about not being able to know everything today because obviously like in I don't know, in 1600s or 1500s, I think there were people that were really good at something that they did. They knew like everything. For example, if you're a farmer, you like knew everything about the farming. You're like the top expert because that was your like whole life. That was the only job, and you knew how to make it all work. or for example, like Indiana Jones, I don't know, he was like the smart guy who was like really knew science and as a character. But I think now, for example, how can you know, like how, you know, in order to understand how the video call works, there are so many different sciences that go into making it happen, like physics and like, I don't know, IT. So it's impossible to really know even one, like, you know, even one technology such a video calling is just there. It involves so much. It's kind of you have there, you know, you have to get like a different experts come together to make it happen. So yeah, it's just kind of becoming more impossible to.
Yeah, for sure. Welcome, Florian. I think we've got the Hackney Francophone community repping tonight, and Mikey had something to say, and then Ian.
I just want to pick up on Katie's idea that that the social media or media as a whole is a mirror that reflects what we want to see. So it's almost the opposite, or in my case, the opposite of a real mirror that just reflects my features and my face. It reflects whatever you want the world to be. It shows you that, and I think that's a very powerful idea coming from Katie. That actually, the way we try and gather information as human beings is we always want to confirm our worldview. We will look for information that confirms what we think already, and we discard information that contradicts that. So where there's so much information, we're always going to find something that confirms our worldview, be it that we live in a gangster movie, we live in a planet surrounded by aliens, we live in, you know, we live in a kind of a dog-eat-dog world as well, I think is also another one, or we, you know, we live in a society overrun by germs, I think is the current idea as well. So I think it's like, it's a very powerful idea, this idea that there's always the information out there to confirm our own beliefs.
So we're living, if I understand correctly, we're living in a matrix of our own making. Is that what people?
I don't think there's any with all this information. I don't think there's anything that social media can do to counteract that, because it's much more uncomfortable to be contradicted than to be confirmed.
And Roisin's saying on the chat that maybe we need to have tools to be able to counteract this. And also, I have those things, but I'm still not finding out about the things I want to. I'm just more critical of what I do receive. Ian, I saw you wagging your finger. Did you, guys, by the way, Margot's just reminded me, give us a little wave on the Zoom. If you're at Batuhan, yeah, great. What have you got? Yeah, come on in.
Can I just say something before I go? I love the conversations, guys. Thank you for tonight. I think my view on this is that, like, if you want to see a change, be that change, and everything else will come, you know, after that. Because also, like we said, that like algorithms really reflect on what you're looking for. So if you're looking for violence, you will attract violence. You know, if you're looking for peace, you will attract that. And that's the digital algorithms. And if you look at it from a spiritual perspective, then perhaps there's cosmic algorithms. You know, so if you resonate on hatred and fear and fighting and all that, you will attract that into your reality. But if you think about the opposite, which is love and peace, then you will attract it as well.
Cosmic algorithms, that's a great expression. Do you want to just say a little bit more about that?
Sorry?
You want, hello, good evening, Adam. Do you want to say a little bit more about that? Cosmic algorithms, it's a fantastic phrase.
Yeah. Do you want me to talk about it? Cosmic algorithms?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you know, think about this. Like, it's you know, as above, so below, as below, so above. You know, so if we created an algorithm system that feeds us with the information that we are seeking, then perhaps this is how the universe works. You know, like, look at the people that they're unhappy, and they always, why? They are the ones that always complain about stuff. They always, you know, moan about stuff, and then they say that, like, I knew this was going to happen to me, and perhaps the reason that happened to you made you unhappy is because you've been vibing on that vibration, and you attracted that. Because I believe that the universe doesn't know what is good or bad, or what is, you know, black and white. It just gives you, it's, you know, you're in this, it's feedback loop. So if you're looking for violence, you will attract violence. Also, the ones that also get into a fight, they're the ones that always, you know, vibrate on that frequency. I mean, that's really spiritual, but like, in outer, you know, how they appear in the real world is like they're always looking for trouble, you know. And then they attract those they're looking for trouble, and bam, they get into a fight.
So are we living in a self-perpetuating story that we create? Do we create the reality around us? What do people think?
Yeah, 100%. It's like, you know, if you if you think that like, the 5G caused coronavirus, just start reading about it, and then you will be bombarded by all these, conspiracy theories, and then you will be meeting people that believe in it, and then surely, but soon you'll be start thinking that like, oh, maybe that is the case. Then immediately shift it to another thinking, think that like it actually exists and governments are, taking care of it. And then you will be bombarded by the digital algorithms and the cosmic algorithms. I believe that like, if we really, really, really want to see a change in the world, we need to be that change.
We need to be that change. Okay. Okay. What do people think about? But I think Adam there, I think he's got a picture of the mayor of Warsaw on his screen there, if I'm correct. Quinal Cultra, welcome as well. Florian, we've not heard from you. Stephanie, I'm sure you've got some opinions as well. Maybe Jacopo as well. But let's cut to Victoria.
Just wanted to share what I thought that, I think it's like, it's true that some people don't know any better, because a lot of times when you get an aggressive attitude for no reason or unexpectedly, it's because a person is just projecting what they think is normal onto you. And, a lot of times it's really not personal. It's just, and I think it's like a difficult thing. Like, how do you deal with it? Like, that person just doesn't know any better. They don't know the better attitudes. They never experienced like a better attitude towards themselves, I don't know, since like childhood. And it's like easy to say maybe that, oh, you're just the cause of all that negative energy, but you're attracting it. But it just comes with a self-awareness, really, I think, and that's like the hardest part, how one becomes like self-aware and becomes self-aware of his behavior.
We just got Quinal thinking that the algorithm, this is Qual Conaltro in the chat, thinking that the algorithm as a neutral mirror is wrong. Our reality is our feedback loop and interference of these algorithms. And this interference pushes their agenda, not our interests. Katie.
I think it's very nice to blame on someone else's agenda.
Ian, I see you. Sorry, you're next.
But I believe it's a little bit more simple. I think if we understand the phrase understanding ourselves, it becomes more clear. As I said before, if our conscious mind can perceive very little part of ourselves, there was a great metaphor. What is conscious experience? Imagine you ask a torch to look, a lit up torch to look to a place in the room where there is no light. It will never find it, because wherever it looks, there will be light. This is apparently how our conscious mind works in the brain. So we perceive that we are fully aware of everything all the time, but we notice that sometimes, you drive a car, you need to park and you turn down the volume. It's essentially this same thing, to dial down the information that's coming to our minds. So understanding ourselves is understanding why sometimes we do things which brings us to the future which we don't like. Because it was always some or other choice in the past, which we took sometimes emotionally, sometimes due to the information we had. But in the end, we're not happy and we will blame everything, but never ourselves.
All righty. Ian, you've been waiting there. What have you got for us? Oh, hang on, we've got a little sound effect there.
Yeah.
Ian, you're muted at the moment. Ian, I can't hear you.
Ian, you need to come off mute there.
Ian, we just need to unmute yourself.
Maybe it's deliberate.
Maybe it's about dialing down the information.
You really dialed
the
it
matrix. The matrix is cancelled out.
Can just
Ian,
fill in whatever we think Ian's saying.
We can fill in the gaps because we know him quite well by now.
Oh, we can't. It's not. Oh, yeah. Ian's got some technical issues there. We've got a little bit of.
There we go. Oops. Go and try again.
And also, if you haven't spoken yet, feel free to chip in at any point, guys.
Can you hear me now?
Yay!
Yeah, you muted me, you see. I didn't know how to come out of it. However, I hope it's worth it. Our friend was talking about consciousness, and there's something called the 100 monkey theory. I don't know if anyone's heard of that. Yes. When there was a group of monkeys were using a certain tool, and the more they started using the tool, and on another island, when enough monkeys on this island were using the tool, it was kind of transferred to another island. There's so many of them created a mass that the fault was transferred to another group of monkeys, and they started doing the same thing. It's called the 100 monkey theory. Back to the social media thing. I mean, I've got a filter, and my filter is my brain. During the American election, I decided that I was creating a bubble for myself around people that just agreed with me. So I started looking into the kind of pro-Trump stuff to see the other side of the coin. Now, I'm not pro-Trump in any way, but to try and understand the points of view that other people were coming up with via that. If you don't do that, then you are in danger of creating a bubble of just yourself and people that agree with you. And I think that's a very dangerous thing. And perhaps that's what the media creates for us.
So are we creating and are we complicit in the creation of a bubble where we create our own reality? And it's
because we tend to talk to people that agree with us, or we see something we agree on there, and we think, oh, he's right or she's right. I'll follow that person, and it creates an ever increasing a soft environment for you to live in, because you think that everybody I know agrees with me. And I think it's always as well to try and get the other side of the view. You know, and I sometimes ask questions on these things. A lot of is just vitriol and that, but I try to ask genuine questions on these points, because I try to engage, because it's the safest place to do it. You know, I don't actually meet these people. I could talk to a complete bug on there without any danger of them harming me in any way, but I could ask a question that I would want to ask.
Great. So we got Ian going out of the comfort zone and dealing with things that might not agree with his specific. I just want to go to Juan Canaltro, because you haven't said anything and you've got your hand up, and also you have the most wonderful beard. And we've got Kate as well, and we've got Victoria. Good evening, Delphine, Florian. I'm watching you. You're live, Juan Canaltro. I hope I pronounced that right. We can't hear you yet. Are you unmuted,
yeah.
Juan Canaltro?
Point very quickly.
Maybe turn your microphone up there.
Oh, we got something.
Yeah.
Mic's not working.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Okay, well, listen. Maybe you can put that in the chat. Kate, you had something to say.
Yeah, I was just whatever I was talking about in terms of trying to get our attention amidst all the the sea of stuff, made me think about how algorithms and the interfaces that we look at are being made more human and sort of more less smooth to get our attention. So I've got a friend who's working on the chatbot that Paul was saying, the early version. She's working on the voices that are used in things like Amazon Alexa machines and stuff, to try to make them more like humans speak. And to do that, they have to put in like hesitations and mistakes and ums and ers and all the stuff that I'm doing now, to make people sort of engage with them more. And for her work, she researched a lot of stand-up comedians, because they're like experts at sort of making you think that something's spontaneous when sometimes it's not. So she went to watch stand-up comedians and saw them make the same mistake over and over again in their sets to get a laugh. And she's using that to learn how to make the Amazon Alexa more like human. So yeah, just, I don't know if anyone else has other examples. I can't think of anywhere like.
Anyone else? I mean, Victoria, you were first, by the way. I hope you don't mind. I was taking a little picture there because it's a momentous moment for me to be in the middle here. So I was recording that for posterity. Victoria, we've not heard from George, by the way. We've not heard from Jennifer, actually. But Victoria?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a good point about Alexa. I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know if I can contribute maybe right now to that point, but what I wanted to say before was that yeah, I think there's a bit of a I've heard this expression that we live in a global village, so to speak, when people have like small communities for different interests, which on one hand is a cool thing. You feel like you belong more to like a certain community, but at the same time, the problem arises when, for example, one group of people say that the Earth is flat, and they think in their community that is the right thing, and then other people come and say like, "Come on, this is right." They say, like, "Come on, come on, I don't care because you don't have to listen to this." That's like maybe a simple example, but yeah, basically what I'm saying is that it's good. I think it's quite interesting to me anyway.
Yeah. So we
all the conflicts seem to arise when all these like community interests clash because, yeah.
So we've got a global village, but then we've got micro communities where people have very different views, flat Earth, not flat Earth. Yeah. So we had Kwan Kanalcha will come to you in a moment because great, your mic's fixed. That's wonderful. But Laura, I don't know if you have a preference. You've got something for us.
Laura, yes.
Laura.
Yeah, that just reminded me of the feminist internet that I was working with a couple of years ago. I mean, I had a project with them at uni, and they were actually exploring the personalities of chat boxes. And we had like a whole conversation about it. Should they be like similar to humans as possible, or should we go the other way around, because that's kind of faking the being a human, and that might confuse people, or is it good or bad? And I think it's very interesting and subject to talk about what like right now with the Alexa series, like I think it's trying to be more human, but then like to some extent they don't cross certain boundaries with what they can do.
Interesting.
What do you guys think?
Well, can we, Mike, can we just go to Kwan Kanalcha because the hand's been up for a while, and then we'll have you. So boundaries, we have creating reality. Is it real reality? Is it false reality? Is the internet unbiased, or is it subject to gender and various other biases? Kwan Kanalcha, come on in there. I'd love to unmute yourself.
You can do it.
Oh, yeah, a little bit of echo, but we got you.
Yeah, so...
Oh, it's coming from... Okay, yeah, because they're in the same room, these two. But I'm going to spotlight you. Go on, go for it.
So they want to harvest as much data as they can. So they want us to be on the platform for as much time as possible. So they can take more data and show us more ads. And mechanisms like filter bubbles, echo chambers, and algorithms, in their various way in which they function. They want to retain us there to get more data. And they don't really care about what we are interested into. They care only about what will keep us on the platform for as long as possible.
So they don't care about what we see, just as long as it keeps us on there as long as possible, so they can sell more adverts, shift more data. Okay, so almost in a way, what you're seeing there is doesn't even matter what our opinions are, because whatever our opinions are will be reinforced as long as we stay logged on. Mikey,
I think it's one that always gets me is all the voiced robot checkouts, and they've always got these very posh voices. There is an unexpected item in the bagging area. And there was obviously a reason why they've gone for that voice, but I think it would be much more authentic if every machine was recorded by a different person that worked in the supermarket in their own accent. And that would give it a much more, I think, authenticity. But I think that shows the bias of technology as well, that it's a very... it's a very middle class. It's always a female voice on these things. So there's some kind of values. I'm not going to attempt to unpick it, but there are values inherent in the way that things are engineered, which then get perpetuated. I don't think it's a deliberate thing at all, but it certainly shapes the values of our society as we go on.
So mind the gap, all that kind of thing. It has a value inherent in it. It's not unbiased. The internet doesn't care about where we're going. Margot, we care about where we're going. Where are we going?
I think very soon we're going to go to the next point of the evening. I mean, who's going to introduce it? It's not me.
Okay, we're going to have a little break from the conversation. It's getting very heavy in a good way. It's getting very deep, and you know, it was all started off with this question from Ollie from our
Can I finish?
guests, I think, about about the media reflecting us, but the other about this world where young people's values are so shifted, and we've gone into this idea of like, how can we actually get this true sense of reality? Anyway, we're going to carry on that conversation later on. We're going to have a little break now because I want to introduce a little experiment organized by Hortense.
Mikey, we've just got to say goodbye to Wojtek. Thank you for your contribution.
Okay, well,
Roisin.
let's just get a final thought from Wojtek. Was it too late? Is he gone?
Well, you still there, Wojtek?
he's
And
still
thank
there.
you, Roisin, as well, for your comments in the
Still
chat.
here.
Okay, let's get a final thought before you go.
You made me back as well.
I'm a bit of a Luddite when it comes to technology, so all of this has been interesting, but above my head. But it was interesting to listen to the various thoughts, as far as I followed them.
I mean, when it comes to photography, do you use modern technology when it comes to photography? Because
I do, yes. Film and digital. Yeah, not that much of a Luddite, but I closed my Facebook account some years ago, and I don't have Twitter and all that sort of stuff. So maybe I'm immune to what's been going on. Maybe I don't relate to it because I'm immune to it.
And are you better for that?
I don't interface with it.
And why is that?
Well, I watch so many younger people who are so absorbed by social media to the exclusion of other things. You know, I've had my daughter's here. She's in her early 30s, and her friends, they meet up sometimes in our house, and even she says that sometimes she's having a conversation with her friends, and they sort of retreat to their mobile phones and you know, flicking through Facebook or texting or whatever. That's it's a strange way of having a social evening, I think.
So
Anyway,
Wojtek,
I'm a product of my age, I'm afraid.
So I think we're going to the next part of the evening. But thank you very much for your and we're here till 9:30 as well, Wojtek. So if you want to come back later on, but that's great. So you're off Facebook because you don't want to be a slave to the social media. Are we slaves to reality?
It's not
Who
so
makes
much,
reality?
well, it's that, but I just don't believe in the ethos of Facebook anyway.
Okay, all righty. Well, we've got plenty to chew on there, but I think Mikey is about to segue us.
Yes, I'm just going to now spotlight Hortense. She's been working on this very hard. Not quite sure exactly what's going to happen, but I'm very excited. This is a little break. Talking about social media, probably not everybody saw in the various social media that we wanted you to get a hat and an unexpected object, which could be anything really. But if you haven't got that, don't worry. If you want to participate in this, please do. If you don't worry about that either. I'm just going to hand the floor over to Hortense and Jacopo and Crowd-Conautro, and we will see what happens. We're going to try to follow this. And turn your cameras on if you can, if you want to get involved in this, because this is an experiment for us as well, and we'd love you to get involved here. So please turn your I've noticed, Victoria, you turn your camera off. Maybe it's to go and get a hat. But if you don't have one, don't worry. I'm going to hand it over to Hortense, and we're going to see where we go with this. Over to you, Hortense. Let me just give you a quick round of applause just to bring you in. Over to you.
Thank you, Mikey.
Thank you, Mikey. We are especially for this night, this beautiful evening, and also Hortense, Jacopo, qualcun altro on the video too with us.
So we're thinking that maybe we've been sitting too long on the chairs, maybe your back, maybe the head, maybe the arms. We kind of want to move. I mean, I feel all the time. Yeah, this. So maybe we're thinking, after this conversation, I want to get into the cyberspace with you, and we're all connected right at the moment. Maybe so, for example, you have a hand. You have one hand and you have a second hand as well, but I need to put it on the stand. So you have your two hands like this. If you want to join, maybe. Yeah, beautiful. If you want to turn your camera on and participate, otherwise also it's quite nice that some people can be here with us. And while we listen to the sound and we see the lights, quite fairy, quite cyber. If everybody joins in together. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, and there is maybe the shoulders feel a little bit. We want to de-stretch them. Exactly, like maybe get up a little bit if you can. Just welcome the sound in your ears. The hands also, or if you're conscious of your hands and you follow them with your eyes, but you look at the camera and they're your hands. They're really nice. And imagine the whole hand is like a body. So you can make it stretch however you want it to be.
They always did. Bird had done yesterday, man may do next year. Be it fly, be it mouse, be it edge, be it agreement in the nest. For her socio-scientific sense is sound as a bell, sir. Her vocal cry, automutativeness right on normalcy. She knows, she just feels she was kind of born to lay and love eggs. Trust her, love boats safe through din and danger. Lastly, but mostly, in her genetic field, it is all game and no gamble. She's ladylike in everything. She does and plays the gentleman's part every time. Let us auspice it. Yes, before all this has time to end, the golden age must return with his vengeance. Man will become dirigible. Aggie will be rejuvenated. Woman, with a ridiculous white burden, will reach by one step sublime incubation. The mean-wanting human lioness, with her discerned discipular membrane, will lie down together publicly flank upon fleecy. No, assuredly, they are not justified. Those gloom powerers who grouse that letters have never been quite their old selves again, since that weird weekday, bleak Genevieve, yet how palpitating wasted oasis went to the shock of both Billy Dora, looking at literature.
If you have next to you an object, anything, I have a unicorn here. For some reason, I can use it. I keep it in my hand. So if you have anything, or a hat is great as well. So yes, thank you. Amazing Margot. Love the crown. Love the tape. The teddy bear. Oh, what is it, Stefan? The statue. And yeah, anything. Join in, dance, do whatever feels good to you. Now we're gonna go into a more musical phase so we can liberate. Liberate the Mandarin. Really. So now this object is becoming anything. It can transform. I imagine I'm in a boat and I'm trying to move. It could be anything. You're in the nature and you buy some water, lake or the sea. If you have a hat, it's quite a heavy hat. It's quite heavy on your head, but it's warm. It's quite good. You have it. It's around your mind and your brain. Thank you for taking part to that very first experiment. I hope you're gonna stay with us tonight to maybe enjoy some more.
We thought changing a word. We were thinking to leave off one letter, the C letter. Leave off one letter, just one letter, the C letter. And turn back to orbit.
Okay. Is there a
Idea was arrive finally to all these. These all
I'll be hearing these noises in my sleep later tonight.
the metamorphosis. Just for this night with you.
Thank you so much.
A little interruption maybe to discussion we had, but with also the help of qualcun altro, me and Hortense would like to say hello and to every friend here connected. We've read a little piece from the Finnegan's Wake that seemed to us maybe the good text to remember in this little chaos period. We would rethink about chaos once or another, and our wake could be an option, we thought. The little sounds, remembering that voices could also mean other stuff by language, we would like to reintroduce other way of using our voice.
So the sound sometimes is not reaching to the ears, but we can feel it.
So I think it's now time to go back into conversation when we thank Jacopo and Hortense and Qual Kunchana for a beautiful interlude, and I wonder how that's going to affect the conversation as we go on, but also want to introduce a new person in the middle. It's the first time in the middle, Ollie. So let's have a big round of applause from everyone. We'll try this. We've got our applause sound effects for all the people contributing tonight. And we're gonna hand it over to Ollie to get the conversation going. I don't know where it's going to go. Interesting one. Thanks everyone for watching and being part of our experiment. And do feedback and let us know what you think about that experiment as well. And yeah, I'm going to hand it over to you, Ollie, and if you want to start asking the question.
Sure, thank you, Mikey.
And let us know if you can hear Ollie as well, because we've plugged in a new microphone for him.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, nice one. So I wanted to ask a question for everyone here, and if they could kind of answer the best way they could, is how to determine what is right and what is wrong, and what is moral and what is immoral, in the most simple or complex way you'd like. How to determine what is right or wrong. If anyone would like to answer. Victoria?
I quite like the saying, your freedom ends where other person's freedom begins. For me, that's quite a big one.
So your freedom ends where another person's freedom begins. Interesting.
Well, I mean, maybe there's a better way to say it, but you know, it's a famous expression. Yeah.
Katie, right? Kate?
Sorry, just kind of one more thing is that
Yeah.
I think it's just that there's a big so with that expression, there comes the question, like, a lot of people really, I don't think, have a concept of like how do you say, like, private, sorry, I forgot the word. You know, like when you have your own space and that space is being invaded. So I think a lot of people don't have understanding, like, what is other person's space, like what is other person's territory, or their own territory, like what is okay or not okay to do with other people.
So in a way, it's about knowing your own space and understanding what other people's space is.
What that's the space, not the word. There's got to be like a better word. Like a personal border. How do we try to find
boundaries?
Boundaries, yeah. Yeah, what are your personal boundaries like? Yeah, personal boundaries. Yeah, like basically a lot of people don't have a concept of personal boundaries in general, I think. So that's what the problem, because like they think it's okay for, you know, they can accept themselves being treated badly, so they think it's okay to treat other people badly and stuff like that. Yeah, the question of personal boundaries.
Personal boundaries.
Yes, I would just like to chip in on that.
Oh,
can you
sorry.
hear me?
Just yeah, 1 second, Dello.
Just
1 second, hold that thought. We're just going to go back to Katie in the studio.
No, after that.
Okay, no, you go. Sorry.
Katie, go on, you had your hand up the whole time. Sure? Delhi?
Yeah, just want to say, anyone with the right mental capacity is capable of knowing what is right for what is wrong. Anyone hasn't got the mental capacity won't understand what is right from what is wrong. Just in a nutshell, just let you know.
Mental capacity.
Yeah.
Sure. Anyone else? Katie?
If I may, I love this question so much. I've been going around asking it for years. And I found, like, if anyone doesn't agree with that, please let me know, because I'm still trying to find out as much as I can. It bothers me like hell. Sorry for expression. But I found that the answer to this question is usually very closely connected to the way a person views the meaning of life, our place in the universe, and the purpose of existence. So even with the personal space, if you go back to the history, if you check different cultures, depending on their view of what's the point of existence, usually the morals closely follow, and they're built on their view of the world and life. So maybe, like, I'm not sure if it's not easier or more enlightening to figure out that question or the answer to that question, because it will inevitably lead to, I think once we understand or we figure out or we decide on our life purpose, then immediately morals follow. And then each and every person, since they understand the first question in a different way, their morals differ accordingly.
They change over time, do you reckon?
Yeah, as well. And with life experience, our understanding of meaning of it changes as well. For a 5-year-old kid, for a 15-year-old teenage person, and for a 60-year-old person, the life has a very different meaning, and they view it very differently. differently. So the values and other things changed as well.
Thank you for that. Victoria, if you want to elaborate.
Yeah, I mean, of course, cultures are different, times are different, but that we are not in the Middle Ages right now. Like, I mean, like in the Middle Ages, one person couldn't survive by themselves. They had to have some kind of function. They couldn't survive without outside of the family. But today we got to like adapt and see, you know, we see the society we live in now and just get to look around and yeah, and just, yeah, I think, I guess, but coming back to the other points, a lot of it just comes down to like, do you see other person as the same person as you or not? Sometimes it's like not that complicated. You don't have to try to figure out their like, do they believe in the universe or do they believe in aliens? You don't just, you know, do you see them as just a person and do you respect that they have personal boundaries, I think. Yeah, because,
so, Victoria, sorry to interject. You said back in the Middle Ages, you couldn't kind of survive by yourself. But now in this day and age, you have more means to do that yourself. Would you not say like the economy with how it's run, for example, like a street sweeper cleaning a street to how the economy is, like just how there's a cycle of people that need to kind of flow to kind of help each other. Do you not think that still remains the same?
I guess I'm talking about general move towards like living towards individualism. Like people become more like individualized. Is that what I'm saying? Like there are more individuals now than there used to be that see themselves as just like, this is me. I can live by myself type of thing. It's obviously it's different for. I'm not saying everyone is the same. I'm not saying everyone looks like that, but society. Well, I've been just like watching some psychological talks and. I kind of see it also that way, that society is a bit more moving towards like individualism. So, you know, we see person as a one whole kind of entity, not as just someone that carries a specific function. If that makes sense. Of course, it depends on every person's like individual level of development, I suppose, or some psychological development, or you know, the circumstances they grew up in, but. It's like a trend, I guess. As actually, I've been editing something today, and there was like a presentation about global trends, such as, and individualism was one of them, basically. I was like,
individualism.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Victoria. I'm going to pass it on to Piotr.
I froze.
Yeah. It's actually hard to answer this question. I think it just by simple answer. I mean, so basically the things which I could say it's right thing to do or right, it could be wrong thing to do from the other person perspective. So we have like some general topics which has been learned by our parents, by our society, which are learned to, okay, this is the right thing to do, and this is the wrong thing to do, and we are carrying on through the life. But then, during the life, we are start doing the things by our way, and I think this is just the thing of responsibility of your own thing, of your own doings things. I believe just to be responsible for what you're doing, and even if you're thinking it's right, and understand if someone else could say it's wrong, just be able to go through it and understand others' perspective as well.
Absolutely. Laura.
Yeah, and sorry, I just want to say that I will need to go. So thanks for everyone for the talk and tonight.
Give us a final thought. Yeah.
I think the final talk. It was. I mean, previously we talked about the technology, how much it's involved, and how we need to change our learning way, how we are learning. I think this came to my mind as well. The way how Matrix came showed the way how you just turn on the program where you are putting a chip into like the brain, and it was just, okay, I want to be a mechanic, or learn about how to fix the car, and you're turning it on like in half an hour. You know how to fix it, and I think that's where technology could go as well. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Take
you all.
care.
Let's go. See you later. Nice seeing you.
Bye bye.
Also, if you haven't spoken yet, guys, this may be your opportunity to just contribute something small or big. I don't know, whatever you fancy. But oh, there's some hands up.
I think Laura wanted to speak as well. Laura K.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to like what someone said before about the boundaries. I just wanted to add, like, in terms of like defining what's right or wrong, we have to recognize at the beginning, in my opinion, what's ours and what isn't. So it's not only about like other people setting the boundaries, but also within ourselves, what can we, what does it agree with us, and then what's agreed by society to be right or wrong, because sometimes things that might be right by the society are actually not with our beliefs. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's completely universal, definitely.
Do you not think, Laura, that like determining what right or wrong is should be like a collective thing for all of humanity? Because maybe something right within this society may be wrong in another society elsewhere around the world, maybe. So is there a way to find what is the right or wrong in terms of like for whole humanity?
I mean, to be completely honest, I don't think so. I mean, that would be ideal, but I don't think that this is how it works. Like, every situation will be a little bit different. It kind of reminds me also about this series, The Sinner. I think it's on Netflix, and the first season is really good because there's this horrible story, but then like it's showing how it's, in terms of their morality, how it can differ on the perspective. And I guess it really opened my eyes how like you said, in a different society, in a different culture or different situation, it might completely shift. So I don't think it's this easy to just set this is right, this is wrong, because it all depends on the situation, on the community, society, on the person, things like this. There are some things that I think can be agreed by law, but then I don't think it's this easy.
Okay, cool. Rob, Mikey?
I'm just wondering, like, because Piotr mentioned this idea of a chip in your head. Does that mean that that chip in our head is going to tell us what's right and wrong later on in the future? I mean, there's lots of things I...
Very quiet, Mikey. Very quiet.
Sorry. How about now? Is that better?
Yeah,
I'm just about a chip. If we have a chip in our heads, will that tell us what's right and wrong in the future?
Okay, cool.
Better a chip on the shoulder than a chip in the head.
Also, just to say, I think Natalie, Paul, you've got your hand up, and also Natalie, I think you can't raise your hand, but I think you may want to say something, so just kind of flagging that.
Yeah.
So,
should I go now?
Yes.
Yeah, Natalie, go for it.
Yeah. I was just thinking about, I don't know if anyone said this, maybe I'm repeating something, but not doing, when you ask the question, what is morally right and what is morally wrong, how do we determine that? Just not doing harm. And I think that's not doing harm to people, not doing harm to the planet, not doing harm to those on the other side of the world as well. When someone was mentioning, you know, should there be a universal standard? Because I think there's a butterfly effect in life. And so what we do in one place or time in our lives, it's going to affect so many other people that we're unaware of. And so you can sort of, I think it's hard to be doing good all the time because you can inadvertently end up hurting people. But at the end of the day, yeah, I just say, if it's harming someone, it's probably not good, even if it's benefiting you. And if it's doing good to someone else, but it's harming you, then that's also probably not the
the best thing for in the long run. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we see that a lot in terms of how like the money shifts around as well. So for example, like we mentioned before the break, that, you know, that we be pushed with ads down our throats, etc. And it'll be beneficial to a specific company, but it'll be kind of having a negative impact on us. So I understand where you're coming from in terms of that, Natalie. Margot?
Yeah, I was just I just had this question rattling in my head. Something that Natalie said just made me think of it. It's like about personal freedom. Is that important? I mean, if you're trying to kind of, you know, if we're trying to, presuming that we're trying to create a cohesive, I don't know, society where everybody kind of agrees on moral principles and stuff. So does that mean giving up personal freedom? Is that even important? Like, or are we just like, you know, lying to ourselves that we're personally free?
Yeah, I agree in a sense. So what we have to do in terms of when we're understanding things in a deeper meaning is to basically kind of reiterate what the word means. So if you kind of elaborate what personal freedom would mean, and say if every single kind of human being on earth had a personal freedom, what it would essentially mean for everyone.
Hello.
Go on.
It's me.
Hey, Paul.
Hi, Paul. I want to bring a disability perspective into this.
Yep.
Because that's my work. I work with vulnerable people. I work with a lot of disabilities. So what happens is their understanding of the internet and generally is different, for a starter. And then secondly, also the understanding of people with physical disabilities in architecture is different also. There's an amazing universal concept in architecture. And I gather it's in Ireland, the centre. That's the best place in the UK. The best place for sort of accessibility about digital stuff is in Scotland as a comparison. But I think what you're talking about is an understanding is what can help the most people. Good and evil. I once had a chat with a speaker on Speaker's Corner once. He was a Buddhist guy who proclaimed himself to be this new whatever, and the new Buddha or whatever he was. And I sort of said, well, you know, I do something and I don't know the outcomes. I'm going to be, you know, subject. I may not be doing good all the way down the line. How do I know? And he said, well, you don't know the concepts of good and evil enough. And I thought, well, that's a bit of a get out. He did get hustled off by his guys. But what I found afterwards is that it's about understanding what people can do. So when you have universal design in a building, it's not just about disabled people, it's about all people too. Everyone gets an opportunity. I think it's all about equality understand at the base of it, and everyone having an opportunity to actually have their say. Unfortunately, with digital stuff, it started out as a really sort of open space and people who just did it. But then what happened is that as it's moved away from the hobbyists and the corporate commercial world, it's spread into the sort of average person's world, and it's become messy. The tools that you're using right now is a corporate tool for a conference call. Yeah. It's not, you know. So I think what we've got to really understand is the essentials of the morality have always been there. We've always wondered about them. I think what happened is that we've speeded everything up a little bit.
Sure. Thank you, Paul. Mikey, can we get a round of applause for Paul?
Oh, yeah, sure. Sorry, I'm off.
Just, you know, working with disabled people is something we need to do.
As well. There we go.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
Thank you, Paul. We'll pass it on to Katie.
Thank you. I'm sorry that I will return a couple topics back, but just 2 points I want to point out, and I'll go more quiet for a while. On the culture as it comes from the past, there was a good experiment done, again with the monkeys. Sorry, we're coming back to them. But they took a group of monkeys, put them in a room, put a ladder in the middle and bananas on the top. Whenever any monkey would try to climb the ladder, they would shower all of the monkeys in cold water. So very quickly, the monkeys started, if anyone would try to climb the ladder, the rest of the monkeys would pull them down. So they would swap some old monkeys with new monkeys, which had no idea why people are pulling everyone down the ladder. And the old monkeys essentially would train them not to climb the ladder as well. They would literally beat them up. And over time, they changed all the 100 monkeys. And the new monkeys, all 100 of them, were still pulling everyone down, even though the cold water wasn't poured anymore, and not a single monkey had any idea why it's being done anymore. So I think whenever, and also the other point which I want to join is for those who believe in evolution, I always assume there is always someone who doesn't. The main rule is not that the strongest species that survive is the ones most responsive to change. So whenever there is any cultural idea, thought, stigma, or anything coming from the past, I always look at it 100 times more critically than anything new for this particular reason, because the people who designed it, the people who thought it, were thinking about their time and they had no idea about the current one. A year ago, if someone told me how today will be, I wouldn't have believed it. I don't think anyone would. However, the times that things that are good, that are bad, I mean, nowadays hugs are bad. Nobody would have thought about that a year ago. So I think we need to be really careful about what's good, what's bad, and realize that it has to be at circumstances.
Okay, that's a good point.
Victoria, thank you for that, Katie.
Yeah, it just seems it's quite interesting how, like, I think a lot of it is like revolves around like having that responsibility, like understanding that other person is a person, an individual, and they and treating them sort of accordingly. Actually, I want to point out this kind of way of communication. I think it's important, like they were saying, just was said before about the most adaptive person. I think maybe more moving forward in terms of like what's wrong and what's right. I think it's really kind of going to be important to communicate whatever you want to say in a non-violent way, and generally just going away from violence in general, because yeah, I think that's just that, for example, can be universal in my belief, unless obviously treating somebody's threatening your life and going to kill you, that's fine. But yeah, I think basically I kind of want to say that I think maybe people should like figure out some kind of universal ways that could work for everyone, so to speak, in the world, such as like non-violent communication, and just like learning about what it is and the ways to communicate what you want to say. And communicating your emotions. And there's another thing I want to say. Also, I wanted to say that maybe one of the things that could be universally good for everyone is education. But again, it depends, I guess, who's teaching.
Absolutely. Mikey?
Yeah, okay. Well, there's also a point over there from Simon, but I just wanted to say, I'm a vegetarian because I don't want to see harm to animals. But I found out that even when you're growing a field of wheat, you have to shoot about 12 rabbits a day in order to stop the rabbits eating the wheat. And I think doesn't stop me from becoming a vegetarian, but it just makes you realize that sometimes you have to do harm in order to survive and take part in society.
Thank you for that, Mikey. Stephen?
Yeah, thanks. It's very difficult, isn't it? You try and do something with the best of intentions and you don't know the outcome. I'm reminded of the Buddhist philosophy that it's whether or not you act through compassion, regardless of the outcome. That's the main thing, because well, from a Buddhist point of view, everything on this physical plane is an illusion anyway. I won't go down that, down that route. But the point is that it's your intention. And I'm becoming more to the conclusion lately that we're a kind of work in progress. We're in a state of evolution, whether you consider that to be spiritual evolution or just Darwinian evolution. We're constantly negotiating about what is the best course of action on anything. And it's very difficult to get anything 100% correct. The point of is you're negotiating and you're attempting, and what you're doing is done through love and compassion, even though it might not have 100% good outcomes.
Thank you for that, Stephen. Anyone else would like to give an answer? Simon?
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is this mic on? Yeah. I was going to say, I think this is such an important conversation. I've been involved a little bit in promoting social enterprises in Hackney. And it's crazy in a way that like social enterprise should be the exception, that to think about the ethics of what you're doing is the exception, not the rule. And I think lots of things conspire to stop us from having conversations like this, because there are a lot of vested interests that want things to stay exactly how they are. And so we're not allowed to have conversations like, hey guys, is it okay that we support these dictators in the global south to keep the oil cheap so that we can have a sort of economy that's thriving? Like, I mean, and maybe what if we had those conversations, maybe some people would say, well, you know what, I don't care if kids are making my clothes for £1 an hour, I don't care. But we'd at least we'd be having those conversations and coming to those decisions, rather than, for example, something like when there's a war and the papers say one thing, but everybody in the street is like, well, it's about oil, isn't it? We all know it's about oil. Let's call that. But we're not allowed to have those conversations. And my French and Italian flatmates told me that they do philosophy at school. So they're given the tools to be able to have moral discussions. And we're not in this country. And I'm going to say something a little bit controversial that a teacher told me. She said, oh yeah, I used to teach citizenship in schools, but the government stopped it because it was making kids ask too many questions. And so I think the conversations for me, I know.
Yeah.
I think this is a really important conversation. And I'm so pleased that we were actually having a conversation like this, because it's so rare.
Yeah. It's crucial as well, isn't it? Absolutely. In terms of what Stephen spoke about in terms of evolution, maybe we'd like to kind of put an evolution to the question that's been given out. The question was initially how we can determine what is right or wrong. And what I wanted to kind of get from you guys an understanding is, does whatever makes you feel happy determine what is right or wrong? Like, should that be one of the kind of the kind of the main points of it? Whatever makes you happy. Margot?
I think yes, but it's just like definition of like, what kinds of things make us happy. If I don't know, cooking dinner for my mum makes me happy, then I should totally like do it.
Yeah.
I should cook dinner for everybody. No, not just for my mum. But if what makes me happy is I don't know, smoking cigarettes, shall we say?
Yeah.
Then that may be the case, but is happiness, am I able to decide for myself what the happiness is to me? And if self-damage somehow is also, can I justify that gives me happiness as well? Or am I just misinformed?
Absolutely. Stephen?
Yeah, or even if what makes you happy
Sorry, that's me. John.
Or if what makes you happy is somebody else's damage, if what makes you happy is winning points over other people and making other people feel shit.
Okay. Katie?
Just a very short point. Sometimes perspective about the same event may change. When I was 17, I had to leave home. It wasn't an option. I had to literally figure out how to live. And for about a decade, I thought that it was one of the most horrible experiences in my life. Now I think it was one of the best experiences in my life, because the lessons I learned from that are absolutely invaluable. So sometimes it takes time to realize whether something was good or bad. It literally proved to me that good or bad, at least to me at the moment, they don't exist at all. Because unless I know all the sides and all the outcomes in the future, I can't decide.
Thank you for that, Katie. I think Victoria wanted to add to it as well.
Yeah, I think maybe I would rather talk a little bit about emotions, because I would just argue that perhaps only positive emotions can truly, is probably the only thing that can truly lead your life in some kind of structural and like way, because a lot of things like, because really truly perhaps I could argue that only positive emotions really say they kind of indicate that you're going in the right direction for you, for yourself. Because, for example, bad experiences or bad emotions, they're also fine. They're just, or like bad, like negative emotions like a fear or I don't know, anxiety. They're just signals for you that something, you know, you should change something. But basically, what I'm saying is like, if people are listening a little bit more towards their, listening more towards good emotions and following them, perhaps they would just start listening to themselves in general a little bit more, and just start appreciating and like just be in touch a little bit more with yourself. Yeah, because bad experiences can also be, because bad, like, you know, if you fear something, it doesn't mean that what you fear is going to be bad for you always, or or if you had a bad experience or something, it doesn't mean that that thing is necessarily bad for you as well. So, you know, all these like bad experience or bad, negative emotions, they can, if you're focusing them too much, then, you know, we can just start going, our life can go like sort of in the direction that we don't want. Yeah, so I'd rather, I guess, instead of speaking like whether your happiness can determine what's good and what's not, I would just say that, you know, your positive emotions can, if you follow your positive emotions, or what has a good, what gives you a good response, you'll probably generally going to have a good, better outcome. You'll be like more satisfied with your life or what you're doing.
Yeah.
Rather than, that's all.
Absolutely. Thank you, Victoria. A couple of people haven't spoken up. Mikey, I'll get back around to you. Maybe Kate O'Connor. I think she's gone off the screen. You right, Kate?
Yeah, I'm just enjoying listening. Thanks.
Okay, sure. Mikey, as soon as I had your hand up.
Talking about bad experiences which are scary, but you learn something from. Hopefully, there hasn't been. It's been a positive experience for you in the middle, Ollie.
Yeah,
you're doing a really good job, and I'm going to give you all the positive things, including the. But we need to try out as well, Katie, to have a go in the middle.
Oh yeah.
Which means sadly we won't hear her views on the outside, but it's been a great, hopefully it's been a great experience, and I've really enjoyed you being in the middle.
Absolutely, yeah.
So thanks very much. It's only because we don't have that much time that we need to get Katie to have a go.
Yeah, sure.
Ready, Katie?
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
So thank you, Ollie, and I hope you've really enjoyed as well being in the middle. It wasn't too much of a bad and scary experience.
No, absolutely not.
You're getting a lot of thumbs up and plaudits from the crowd.
So big round of applause to Ollie in the middle. And in the meantime, I would just like to shout out, I would just like to say there's a conversation going on the chat as well. There's some recommendations of things to watch from Rasheen. And tradition, remember, is just pressure from dead people. So don't worry about it, don't overthink it, is what Rasheen says. But I will say in the meantime that we also have Laura rather, working on some visualizations for us, and Rick is obviously doing that as well. Rick is our, house visualizer, but we're kind of branching out, bring Laura into it, and the image that you will see behind you, have seen it with kangaroos dancing or fighting, I don't know. That's Laura's work, and there may be some more dropped into the chat, so watch this space. But in the meantime, I'm just filling in with some chit chat. So that's what's going on. What else is happening on the chat? Just the usual stuff. Rabbit and wheat, the greater ever. No, the greater good, sorry. Said Natalie on the chat. I don't know what that means because I'm just kind of scrolling back to time before. But anyway, soon I'll have to stop talking, which is a relief for everybody. So don't worry about it. And in the meantime, does anybody have anything to add? I thought this conversation was really good. It kind of took us into like a different direction and we went deep. So hopefully... and Hortense has transformed again, so nice to see you back, Hortense. For those who joined later, we had a Talkaoke, the world premiere, today. Thanks to Hortense and her collaborators. But anyway, that's it. That's me. I've finished chatting.
So, hello everybody. I'm glad I got a chance in the middle, just towards the end, because that's about how
Maybe we can keep it going a bit longer. Okay?
how long I can. Anyway, so we were talking about morals, and we talked about what's good, what's bad, and we also touched on various influences of the past, like cultural, traditional. There were some very interesting points on the chat, so maybe anyone wants to add something more to that, maybe from their personal experience or just their ideas for the future.
And the other thing I think we should say is we've got another new face in the table, in the studio, which is John, and we'd like to just say hello to John and welcome, because we've not really mentioned him yet, and he's there, hopefully listening, hopefully a familiar face at Talkaoke. So if you want to say something, please do jump in. You've got your own microphone now, socially distanced, so it's all should be good.
Well, I think when the subject is morality, I'm probably the last person in the world that should be asked about this. I haven't sorted out my moral compass just yet. I am a little bit concerned as a kind of long-term resident in this area about the implications of some ideas now brought forward, planning for the future, which seem to imply that as distinct from the isolated and very self-sufficient neighborhood that we have been for a long time past, we are now to become a part of a mega city that people are not really very well acquainted with and don't have a well-reasoned opinion on. And I just wondered if anybody else had time to think about the implications of this.
So, implications of various changes towards the future. That sounds very interesting. I see Mikey's hand up. Yes, Mikey.
Well, I mean, I think this is linked to our understanding of what is right and wrong, because what we're talking about before, that the notion of right and wrong evolves as our society evolves. It also evolves as our city evolves. And, in this area, in Aberfeldy Street, the long-term residents that have lived here and their parents and sometimes grandparents have lived here are dismayed at this pace of change and the lack of community that's involved in this new way of living. And I think that very clearly sort of shows a different understanding of what it's for people that have moved in. They're not even grasped that that's an issue.
Okay, anybody else wants to chip in with their ideas about how communities should get involved in building morals and traditions for the future? Or maybe, Margaret.
I think we've got a dog coming to the door. I think it's about. I think if people don't feel connected, it's going to be very hard to kind of make them agree on something or contemplate something together. And I think having the kind of space for people to come and discuss things like we have tonight, I think it's a really good start, because otherwise where are you gonna be having these conversations? Not when you're buying your grocery, you're not, when you're having a chit chat with a friend or a stranger on the street, you're gonna keep it pretty, and also when you're working all day and you're really busy or whatever, in the end of the day, you don't really want to have these deep conversations. But the point is, I don't think they need to be, they are part of life. But I think over the course of time, we kind of push them out of our day-to-day. It's like Simon was saying about philosophy. It's not part of our life now, therefore we don't use it. But we should be using it because it can be a part of life. So if we practice communication and empathy within our communities, then we can have a chat about it, I think.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to kind of touch up on what we can do for our communities directly. And obviously the future of our communities comes from the young people, especially. So as we're kind of constricted with what we do in terms of working and the lives that we've got to kind of proceed with the, you know, housing prices increasing, etc. We're more focused on kind of the rents and mortgages, etc. We don't have that time to kind of sit down with the younger generation and just kind of guide them through what's right or wrong. So they look to, etc., like what we spoke about before in terms of media. They don't have that time with their parents or their brothers and sisters, so they turn to the media, and the media is what's becoming their role models. And as they kind of continuously watch the media, they try to emulate them as well. So as you can see, like literally statistically, with the knife crime that's going on within this neighborhood and around the whole of London and the kind of nation, it's increasing non-stop. And as you can see in the media, it's portraying that it's a glorified thing. So it's like there's no guidance specifically from, if you're not getting guidance from the media, then you need to get that guidance from your families, etc. And the youth workers, the community, the neighborhood police officers that are kind of decline currently. So that's what we need to kind of increase on, is just making that time for the children, because they are our future generation. And if they are kind of indulged in the wrong type of things, then absolutely it will increase. So the crime rate speaks for itself, etc.
Thank you, Oli. So it seems that whereas previously people had more time to have for philosophy, to think about philosophy and various of these things, it seems nowadays, due to the amount of information, we just copy something from online. Thank you very much. That's amazing insight. Anyone else wants to add? How do we solve this problem? What should be the way forward? Because it looks like everyone knows and agrees on the problem, but does Paul want to say something? Yes, I see a raised hand. Yes, Paul.
Hello. It's interesting because there's a great documentary from Adam Curtis called The Century of the Self, and it describes the latter part of the 60s, how capitalism, or rather industry and commercial interests, focused on hippies and individual culture. And we're still facing that now, because everyone's being made an individual by having a computer of their own or device of their own that does all this communication. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's quality communication, and it also comes from a commercial place and sold. The concept of smart cities is something that is, if you look around for it, it's only just for corporations trying to sell to councils. It's nothing about utility of internet access or anything really. It's very minimal. So I think with individuals and how we face culture, it's always subverted. We always face ourselves and the decisions we make. So yeah, I think it's about making things. I think Kurt Vonnegut wrote a letter to a bunch of high school students saying just make stuff. I think the response to any corporate enterprise is to actually make stuff of your own constantly, or as much as you can. Find your space in the world. Because you're making your own thing, you have ownership, and everything on the internet is always sold. Everyone seems to forget that the dot-com bust was about the fact that internet companies couldn't make money online, and advertising won. There was only the big boys or Amazon who actually showed people how to make lots of money, and they didn't really share. They actually consumed everyone else, and that's how a lot of the companies have worked. It's big fish eat little fish. So we've been sold things, and I think it's very important to remember that sometimes. And someone once said to me about a form of anarchism that wouldn't build roads. Well, who would lay the internet pipes? Who would do the cables? There's always been money behind it. There's always been something drawing it. And in terms of morals, it's how we use it. So, yeah, I think I'm rambling now, but I think I made my point of a sort.
Yes, I think it was quite a wide point, but I believe there was a nice connection between the morals and the way things have been happening from the past. I agree that there is a lot to learn from history.
I believe Hawkins wanted to add something, or and I saw, oh, Victoria, yes.
Yeah. Something that I wish would be more of in schools is like lessons on mental health, or something to do with mental health, just to explain some basic concepts such as what kind of emotions do we experience and how do you express them. Because if you look at the pictures, because I feel like there's a big problem, like with a lot of people have a big problem with how to express their anger. A lot of people, they're like afraid to express anger or something. They maybe, so instead of feeling the anger, they like feel fear for feeling the anger, or they feel shamed for feeling anger and stuff like that. Like Paul was saying, I think it's a great, making stuff is a great way to also, it's one of the healthiest way to express yourself and express your anger. Like if you look at the early paintings of David Lynch, it's like pretty crazy stuff. It's pretty insane. He just like cut off heads with a pouring blood, but like, come on, he makes films, so that's fine. Like he expressed his anger and they're there in the pictures.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So expression of our feelings seems to be grinding hold. Yes, Mikey.
No, I think it's interesting because when we started this whole session, which seems like a long time ago, we were talking about everyone, in a way, everyone was either a writer. We had Dele talking about the play that he's writing. We had Ian talking about the book that they were writing, all kinds of other creative projects happening amongst the people that are on this call or were on the call. And I think, to be honest, I think that is the way out of this. And I kind of agree with what Roisin is saying about them. I think the media is just this weird warped reflection of us. I don't think it's the thing to actually blame for the situation that we're in. But I think, going back to also to what Baturan said, it's up to us to find a way out of this. And the way we can do it is by making our own stuff, making our own media, and fashioning, creating objects as well.
Okay, so thank you very much, Mikey. So in this new digital information age, how do we create our own things when I can hear that a lot of people see the problem of the corporations kind of hogging the whole thing? How do we find our own place? Is writing the book the right thing to do?
There from Natalie as well.
I mean, there's a lot of chat going on the chat, and I'm very happy to read it out. Well, you can have a go, Katie, if you want.
Okay. So Margot says that speaking about writing, we still have some writing to be read out by Simon soon. I'm quite looking forward to that. And Natalie says that a lot of people are influenced by media, government, society, and tradition, and it can be inhibiting and take away control. But thinking critically and freely, like us having this conversation, means that we do have more control with the knowledge and resources. So then it looks like we're coming back to the problem of a lot of resources and little time, maybe. Or what do you think? What's the solution? How do we get out of this? Yes, Al.
Thank you. So basically, what we were speaking about before in terms of media is that there's a kind of force that's kind of showing us what they want us to see, and only that. So if you'd search something in the search engine, as you said, and someone mentioned before about algorithms, the algorithm will be shaped in a way where it'd kind of suit their agenda exactly. When you want to learn about history, etc., it's not kind of integrated within the curriculum. So the kind of younger generation are not learning what is actually true. They're just learning something kind of completely different, and it's kind of a smokescreen that's happening. So for an example, like the colonialism of the British over the last 200 years, these kind of things are not in the curriculum, and they're not learning that. However,
Wow.
they learn about other kind of situations and stuff that's kind of taken part within the world. And it is kind of shifting them into another direction of their thought processes, and it definitely creates like an emotional change within like the younger generation, etc. as well. So they feel like resentment towards a specific nation, or they wouldn't understand where the clothes of their backs came from. So it's good to just kind of go down to like the old school ways, like the libraries, the books, etc., and learn directly what is true and what is false, and just kind of going from there.
Thank you very much, Ollie. So we should check the history books. So what do we think about the history and the books, especially the curriculum? Apparently it has changed a lot. Does anyone else want to comment on those? Victoria, I'll let you, and then Mikey after that. Oh, Stephen, sorry, in between.
Yeah, just 2 points about changing the history. I mean, it's really crazy how people rewrite it as well. I was just not that while ago watching a video of someone went into Museum of Second World War in US, and the person who was filming the video was Russian, so he was looking for places where they would like write about Russia's part in World War history, but there was like super little information about it, and like things like that. It's like, for me, it's like, wow, it's crazy. Like if you were like a student in US, you just go to World War history museum, which is like a really amazing museum. It's super technical, it's super beautiful, everything moves. It's like a really cool museum, but they're already like rewriting history in some ways, and in obvious ways.
So history seems to be getting changed. That's a very good point. Stephen, yes.
It's a similar point, really. Somebody made the point that we ought to go back to libraries and read books, but you can't necessarily trust what's in the history books. Any history book will be written with a kind of spin, a bias, even if it's unconscious.
Very good point. And yes, Mikey.
Also, I think, so we've got a final thought from Paul, because I think Paul, you can leave.
Is he gone already?
Paul, are you still there?
Paul, talk to us. He's gone.
Oh, missed it. I'm very sorry.
I know. I just like the idea that you can. We're going to come to autopsy in a minute, but I just want to make this point. I like the idea that history is something you can change. The future is something you can't change.
Okay.
That's what Slavoj Žižek said. But I also want to make another point. I know that it's wrong to make 2 points in one moment, but I just wanted to also say about if you made your own clothes, then you know where the clothes on your back are coming from.
Also, just
very
like what
good point.
I think Stephen's name said about going back to like textbooks and kind of historical data is a much more higher chance that those kind of specific physical books are less likely to be changed. Obviously, regarding whichever the kind of historian is writing it in, if they have their own agenda, etc., as to like the modern technology. So, like for example, you can go into Wikipedia and you can edit the data yourself. And with multiple kind of website sources, etc. So it's more likely that modern technology will be able to change what's happened in the past than historical evidence from the past directly. And our learning kind of like understanding of things have come from before. So to kind of cancel out what's happened before is exactly what Mikey said. Is it's going to change the past, and the future will kind of necessarily not change if the kind of historical evidence was never rewritten, for example.
Thank you very much. So I think we're coming to a very interesting question. That change, is it good or bad? Did the science or our understanding of the world or any of the things written in those old books has changed, or is it still the same, or should it change, or should it stay the same? What do
as long as it's kind of like we were speaking about in terms of morality, is it a subjective criteria or is it an objective criteria? An objective criteria is something that kind of stays the same and is something to follow, whereas subjectiveness kind of comes with like a change of emotions, a limited perception, etc. So if we base our kind of our future and our lifestyle on subjective criterias, it would always change. So it would then impose another person's lifestyle to us here, for example, like Dubai, for example. Everyone would agree that it's a beautiful city and it looks amazing.
Yes.
But the history behind of how it was built, with the kind of workers working in Oman from South Asia, etc., being paid, £200 a month, traveling 2,000 miles from their homes, and then they're charging, £15,000 to 20,000, etc. plus.
So
for us to glamorize the city. So
so the perception even of those facts seems to vary a lot. So can we bring more people into the conversation, because the points seem very, very, very interesting, and I can see that the time isn't that long. Plenty of time, Mikey. Oh, so Hotan.
New people, Akbar, who's jumped on, who has come on later on as well.
Yeah, hello. And maybe we can hear something from Natalie and Jennifer, or maybe even Milda, or I am afraid to pronounce that one. That one. Javia, sorry. Just afraid to make a mistake. Does anyone have, because it's really, really, I believe, important points. Maybe someone has some new insights.
Oops, sorry. Okay.
Thank you, Mikey. So let's give it to Hortense. Yes.
Yeah, I was thinking that I needed to maybe get some dinner after the show, but then I heard this conversation that was very interesting. The fact that the future is so scary is also because we know the history, and I believe that history books do give something that teaches us for the future, in a sense that now we're in the 20s of our century, and if we look back at every century, this is when things change. And I do believe that with the new technology that is internet, and we are in that cyberspace, this is actually gonna be
so it's the perfect time to have these conversations then. Indeed, thank you very much.
Yes, and thank you, and have a very good evening. I need to go.
Any final thoughts, Hortense, about our talk? Because we covered quite many topics about culture, traditions, future, and the past, and the connection between them.
Well, I hope that the 20s of our century is going to be a wonderful time for humans within all the development that it is now. New technologies, art, and people talking and communicating with each other.
I hope you're right, and thank you very, very much for joining us tonight. So, Victoria wanted to say something, and then we will need to go to maybe someone from the hidden people, because there is like about half hidden, half showing themselves.
And also there's loads going on the chat, mostly from Simon like this moment, so perhaps you'd like
So Simon, maybe you can voice your words, because I can't follow both.
Well, yeah, I mean, so I was just saying that about media, you know, it's like, because I've been in that environment, and the worst thing about it is you don't even have to tell people what to write, because it's known what's expected of you. You know, if you Guardian readers can't ever be told that the Tories are right, Telegraph readers can't ever be told that Corbyn is right. No one had to actually send out emails saying we've really got to stop this Corbyn guy. It's all just understood. You know, the papers and the channels are paid for by car manufacturers and airlines. Like you just, it's just all understood. You don't rock the boat, you know, because there were too many vested interests to block change. And then I was just, another point was about history. That I used to lead World War II tours, and the more I got into it, and the more I read, and the more I learned, I just realized how much wasn't being said, like the experience of Commonwealth soldiers, but women, like half the population. Like when you went into the museums, there was always stuff about tanks and soldiers and infantry. There's never anything about refugees, anything about women, anything about children. And also as well, like really frustrating for me, like in the war museums at the end, never, the biggest question of all, which should be like, this is terrible. How about we don't do this again?
So it seems that even when we look in to the past to try to figure out some morals or lessons from it, even that is incomplete by the looks of it. That's an amazing insight, and maybe someone else has any ideas how to deal with that, considering that textbooks seem to be changing over time. The past seems to be incomplete. So how do we deal with the future, and what's the way forward? I can see Victoria wanting to talk. Just before that, maybe Laura or Margot or Stephen seems to be gone, or Della or George.
Still listening, he's just making dinner.
Or anyone wants to add something. So let's go to Victoria now. Let others think for a bit.
Yeah, I find that knowing different languages really helps with analyzing information and what you're being told.
It's like looking at different perspectives, I guess.
Yeah, and I don't find like, I mean,
right?
Hard books, hard textbooks, I mean, or just books in general. I mean, are they like the most trusty source of information? Again, I think it's just not, it's not about maybe so much the source itself as much as about seeing like different points of view. Because, you know, if you look at some of the propaganda books, it's like, you know, you're not going to find any true information in there. And they also can be old hardcover.
So it seems that we get information already prepared, so we form certain opinions, or is it? So do we get opinions, or do we get information from the past, or how does that go?
My point is like looking at different sources, and
Different sources.
Is one of the ways to do it.
So it's I guess it's a good way to verify. And
yeah, because something happens and you can Google it. Like, what are you like? I do it sometimes. Like, I Google news in Russian, I Google news in English, and
it's a very good point. I believe we talked before as well that we should try to look at different perspectives from different points of view. Mike
was second point that I didn't say before is about like in general media and like I think there was kind of a question like the question goes around about like.
So can we come back to this point on another round, so we keep just 1 point per chance to speak, just to get more chances, more people talking about it. Mikey, thanks for sending me those kisses.
No, I just want to also to agree with Victoria on that particular point, that it is for me to actually speak to people from other cultures who speak other languages. When it comes to the question of the Second World War, completely changed my perspective on it. My friend Alexei is from Russia, had a totally different perspective on the Second World War. That's almost 180 degrees to what the narrative is in Britain. But even the Polish, I know there's a couple of Polish people on this call as well. It's like our understanding of entering the Second World War is that it was because we were so angry about Germany invading Poland, but the Polish narrative is that Britain abandoned Poland, which it did, but we don't look at it. We don't look at it that way in this country. So but you need to know, if you don't know other languages, then you need to know people from other countries or that speak other languages to actually get that information.
Thank you, Mikey. So again, it seems that there is so much information to find out, which can fill up so many gaps of our understanding and help us form our opinions. But how do we go about that? I see Akbar wanting to speak, so I'll go straight to him because I'd love to hear from you.
So it's quite interesting because growing up post the Second World War and growing up in the UK with, war movies and history being taught the way it was taught, you don't really have much of a choice. And to be frank, doesn't everybody grow up in that way? I mean, I have friends in the States that believe fervently that the Nazis were atheist, completely atheist. They had no interest in religion whatsoever, mostly because they can't comprehend that they might have been fundamentalist Christians. And this is everybody is taught in a different way, and then you could put it all together, but it doesn't necessarily make for the truth.
That's a very good point. And it rings to me again very similar, that we find the information which, especially if we have preformed opinions, we end up finding facts and histories to confirm them most of the time. Ollie, you wanted to say something before? We'd love to hear.
Like having opinions on kind of different cultures and backgrounds, traditions, religions. You can't kind of have a general opinion if you don't understand the religion itself. So, for example, the Quran was revealed in Arabic. To be able to read and recite it is another level of understanding, rather than judging what it is based on what the media portrays to us. Similarly with Christianity, the earliest manuscripts were revealed in Greek. and then the later texts are Hebrew, etc. You need to kind of be able to grasp that kind of knowledge first before you can understand where their kind of aims are. And similarly with Judaism as well. So rather than just kind of having an overall opinion on it based on subjectiveness with the media, etc., you need to be able to have that knowledge and time to understand what that kind of background, cultural or religion is explaining,
Yeah.
and then go from there, and then you can understand a bit better.
So we need context. We need context to that information that we find. That's an amazing point. And we coming to the final thoughts, I believe, for tonight. Does anyone who wants to start and share what they think? Sorry, reading.
I thought we were going to do the final thoughts and then the reading.
What reading?
I'm just kind of tying what's been said, so actually it might be all right to let people reflect on it. What do you think?
Okay.
So we've got a little treat just left to right till the end, and that's previously announced in dribs and drabs. A little bit of prose written by Simon. So he's just going to read out. That's all I've got to say. So whenever you're ready, Simon, do you want to keep the camera on?
It's on.
Oh, cool.
Okay, so this is called Saudade pour l'Europe. Salut, salut! We clink bottles. It was November 2020 and I was sitting on a bench with my French flatmate in the Hackney Park. It was virtually silent, even though it was only 7 p.m. Lights shone from flats, symbols of the new indoor culture that winter and COVID conspired to control. When would this all end? When would things get better? When could people plan? She wagged a finger. Eh bien, prochain, c'est le Brexit. The B word, the next thing to be negotiated. I thought of my purple passport and looked out into the blackness, imagining our neighboring nations out there. All those adventures I'd had, all those people I'd met, all those things I'd learned, places I'd seen. That's when I realized it had been 1 year to the week since I'd been abroad. 1 year ago, I'd stood in Alexanderplatz in the heart of East Berlin, surrounded by crowds of people. They were marking 30 years since the Berlin Wall gave way on 9th of November 1989. Now, in lockdown, it seemed like a fantasy. Bands playing, crowds partying, noise and the energy of all those bodies in one place as a sound and light show played across the packed pavement. The whole side of the block of flats that looks onto this famous square was illuminated. Huge video projections showed people streaming through the Berlin Wall on the night when the most famous symbol of a divided Europe finally burst open and East Berlin finally got to discover West. Euphoria had erupted all across a country that, for half a century, had been carved in two. Family, lovers, friends, all were reunited in an event that captured the imagination of the Western world. Even 30 years on from that historic night, the power of that moment made my heart race in sympathy. I felt the vicarious wonder of that moment. It was my empathic response to the endless stream of wide-eyed faces that waved to the camera as they gawped at the West that they had heard so much about and dreamed so often of visiting. It seems incredible today to read how the East Germans were told that the physical barrier of the Iron Curtain was created to protect them. Imagine believing that where you live is so special, so precious, that innumerable foreigners would like to invade it and take it from you. Imagine believing that there is nothing on the other side of that wall that you need because you have it all here. There are no cultures to be discovered over there. There are no languages to be savored. There are no new relationships to be begun or different lives to be tried out. They have nothing to offer us. And those of us who seek to connect with foreign lands and alien communities, you are disloyal. Are we not great? Do we not stand alone and above the world? One of the things that drove so many East Germans to revolt against the government was the desire for freedom of movement. They wanted to travel. They wanted to see what was on the other side. They wanted to connect with their peers all across Europe and even beyond. The physical wall that separated the east and west of the iconic city is gone now. The concrete barrier was broken down by enterprising individuals with chisels and sold in tiny pieces to souvenir hunters who wanted a tangible memory of decades of division. The Iron Curtain has rusted into history. But what of the walls within our heads? What of contemporary demagogues who seek to separate us, who profit from division, selling us their status as saviors from supposed hordes of barbarians at the gate? Can you warn in the human spirit forever? Can you close off a continent indefinitely? Can you kill dreams for eternity? All empires fall, all borders shift. It's 1 year since I saw you, my European brothers and sisters. We are joined by so much more than just a continental shelf. It's been a long year, yes, but this love, our love, it's for a lifetime.
Wow. Thank you very much for the prose and for the reading.
Extra round of applause from George there. And silent one from Stephen.
Yeah, John, what would you like to say?
I think the writers just would be quite cheap to say very much. But I've tried to catch up with the drift of the dialogue, of the debate that's gone on before I joined in. And it seems to me that in understanding where we are, there is an old idea that, of course, the history and perhaps the truth of history of any conflict is always written by the victors. The assumption that victors seem to make is that the ability to write that history as victors gives them an inalienable right to depict the future. And our own history makes it, I think, abundantly clear that this is very far from the truth. We are in that situation now, that we have the crises of what the victors thought the future would be, and it isn't.
Thank you very much. Very deep insight. So I guess we can do the round of the final thoughts now. Thank you. So which way do we start? From top to down, from left to right? Any volunteers so we can...
You don't have to have a system. It could just be people, whoever wants.
Okay,
Whoever's got
Mikey, you
something
started talking, so you may go.
final thought. I like to have my final thought at the end.
Final in the end. So that...
Yeah.
So let's go other way around then. I stopped seeing everyone. Yes. So Simon, your other pros, maybe you want to give your thoughts about today's talk, your final thoughts?
Well, I guess just an observation on, I think Rasheen's been making some great comments, and Rasheen said, you know, something along, I'm paraphrasing you, something along the lines of course, it's so simple. It is just people coming together, because that's when we find out that the people that we're told we should be suspicious of, or shouldn't like, or shouldn't trust, are actually all right, because they're just like us. And so I suppose it's just really confirmation of what Talkaoke does, and what many of us try and do in our work, which is just bringing people together in a space so we can connect as human beings, and that's where we find how much we share.
Thank you very much. That's really, really beautiful. Thank you, Simon, indeed. Maybe Natalie, maybe you'd like to share your final thoughts? Or maybe Roshan, or maybe,
Come on,
okay,
people.
I'll
Let's
skip myself.
Let's get a thought out of you. We know your microphones work.
We know it. Also, Milda, you commented on chat. I wonder whether you'd like to kind of maybe say it out loud. Was a comment on what is good and what is bad.
Okay, Milda says that whether something is good or bad depends on the perspective, and event can have two sides like a coin. So we just need an open mind. Milda, if you don't want to go on the voice, you can text whether that was the final thought or whether there'll be something to come. Jennifer, maybe you want to add something? please share with us your final thoughts. I believe it's so beautiful to hear what people get from all of this talk, not just to go with the flow, but what we understand looking back on it. It's like a very recent history we just spoke about. I mean, if no, then no. Jacob, anything? I'm drawing all blanks here.
I quite enjoyed what you said about, you know, it's nice to talk like hypothetically, but actually we've just made history in some small capacity, and I think it's nice to reflect on that. Everything we do every day is creating history, and I think Simon's writing also kind of made me think of that. And I really enjoyed tonight's Talkaoke. It was very different to many other Talkaokes. It was very focused and very attentive. And I really loved it. Really loved the new energy that you brought to the table. So tonight I had a lovely time. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you very much. That's really beautiful. Ollie, yeah.
I'll just make a brief kind of summarization. Is one thing as human beings in our nature is that one day we will die. From my beliefs and understanding of what life is we need to kind of consider how much good deeds we're able to do in our lifespan. And me personally, and from my beliefs, I understand pretty well what bad and good is. So it's just kind of differentiating that, staying away from the bad, and kind of embracing as much good deeds as possible, because you know it's what we can do as humans, just help one another, love each other.
That's really beautiful. It looks like today's talk has inspired a lot of beautiful thoughts. Thank you, Ollie, very much. Maybe Hottens wants to go. Hottens, a final thoughts?
I think she's already given her final
Okay,
thought,
that might be final.
Stephen's
Stephen, yes, I can see that. Stephen, please give us your thoughts.
It feels a bit of a pressure. You know, the last thing you say has to be something really eloquent. You know, to sum up the evening's discussion.
Oh no, it can be a joke. It can be anything.
I know. Just like like the last words on your deathbed have to be of something of great import. But no, all I can say, I didn't get the chance. Well, I did, but I didn't think of responding to Mikey's comment about trying to be vegetarian. But if you're going to grow wheat, you have to shoot rabbits. So maybe then it's okay to eat the bunny rabbits if you're going to have to shoot them. This is what I'm saying. We're work in progress. We're trying. We're trying to do the ethical thing. Sometimes it seems to be impossible, but you just have to do the best you can. And maybe in the end, you can't be absolutely anything. You'd like to say, oh, I'm absolutely vegetarian, but if you're going to have to shoot rabbits, then eat the rabbits.
Thank you very much. I feel like almost clapping. On the chat.
Yeah, the final thought. Be curious. Full stop. Always.
Roisin, why always? That's the message. No one really got it. But anyway.
I will chip in on that on my final thoughts. So where do we go? George, welcome back.
Hi everyone. Thank you everyone for a wonderful talk at Oki. As usual, dare I say it, better than normal. I don't know. It was very, very stimulating, and I wasn't participating too much, but I was listening attentively. And what Ollie said, it's we all have good deeds to do, and there's no time to waste. The other thing I forget who said it, but I thought was brilliant, was that tradition is just the pressure of dead people. So that's great. Anyway, that's what I got from tonight, and I'll see you next month.
Thank you very much. Dele.
Oh yeah, can you hear me loudly?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, thank you so much. I really enjoyed this evening, but the point I'm going to hold on to is happiness. And now, I didn't find happiness until when I went mad. But when I went mad, I found the beauty in myself, and I was able to find my voice. And that is the voice of revolution that I want to spread out to the world. And I love you all so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Hooray!
Beautiful to hear so many thoughts. Very good to see you. Kate, maybe you have something to say to us.
Yeah, I had a brilliant time listening. Like so many brilliant things. Yeah, I think it's probably one of the most like balanced conversations about social media that I have been involved in. I didn't say much that I've listened to, so I'll think about that a lot. I also really enjoyed trying to work out the geography of the space that some of you are in and like where everyone is compared to everyone else. I've just been like, ah! But that's really fun. Thank you everyone so much.
Thank you very much, Kate, for joining us. It was a pleasure. Laura, some piece of
Yes,
wisdom.
I have my. Sorry, my microphone was off. My final thought would be a little bit to what Stephen said before. And kind of I saw it on Instagram the other day. A lot of people was sharing this post that was saying that basically we don't need to be perfect, but we do need to just keep on trying, which I think is like with like the being vegetarian or not being a vegetarian, like what's good or bad, right or wrong. It's, you know, it's not about having the answer, but it's about just like keep looking, like what was said before, stay curious and keep on trying, I guess, to find your way.
Thank you very much. I'm really, I may be overly optimistic, but I'm almost guaranteed that so many beautiful thoughts today will have inspired a lot of curiosity in people. So, Mikey, are you ready yet?
I guess one of the things I've learned from tonight is sometimes it's better to shut up and listen. And you know, sometimes when you're in the middle of the table, you're just focusing on like provoking the conversation, or but when you're on the outside, you can listen and really enjoy it and actually really think a bit more about what people are saying. Do you know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Indeed, after the last half an hour, I do know what you mean.
I think that's a big shout out to everybody.
Thank you, Mikey.
We can chat about it later, but I suppose it can be like can be quite tough sometimes.
Yeah, it is an experience. Actually, it's my first time, and and it is an experience a little different than expected. Anyone else? Anyone? Maybe I missed out. Maybe someone decided to talk afterwards.
John.
Oh, John. Sorry, I need to turn around now.
I just thought of a final word that might sum it up, really. To modify the words of some 18th century person, it might have even have been Mr. Johnson, who said it's better. Who was the one who said it's better to have loved and lost, but than to never have loved at all? I would think that the motto for us is it's better to open your mouth and make a fool of yourself than never to say anything.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you very much. The best thought ever. So, sounded like it, yes. So I'm not sure if I say any of my thoughts or not, or I leave it for the next time. Okay, so I really want to thank everyone for the insights and for the opportunity to be here in the middle. And this conversation actually brought a lot more optimism than probably last 2 weeks of conversations online with maybe 5 times more people than here. So I think this is way more productive, at least from my experience, than most of the just text chats online.
I'm really looking forward to being more of these talks because it's really, really amazing. Thanks to everyone very, very much. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Ollie. And thank you, Simon, in the middle. Big shout out to Rick on the old visualizations, and a massive shout out to Laura.
Thank you, Rick.
For visualizing bits and pieces here and there. I will just say, obviously, massive round of applause to you, but you know this, but I will just say that we've got some things coming up. There may be something that we might be doing with Ollie. So you may be hearing some more kind of stuff coming from us, coming from Ollie, actually, specifically speaking. So watch this space. But in terms of upcoming events, on 4th of December, which is a Friday at 2 p.m., so it's a bit like a daytime arrangement, we are doing Africa Talks Talkaoke, which is Talkaoke's first, journey into Africa across the internet, whatever, internet waves. I know that's nothing. But so yes, Africa Talks Talkaoke on 4th of December, 2 p.m. And if you are an artist, creative, or you're just purely interested in, you know, what we've got in common in terms of, you know, philosophies and creative practices, do join. If you've got any friends who are interested in collaborating with artists in Africa, also let us know. And if you know any funders, of course, also invite them to it. But yes, so some more podcasts, more things coming from Ollie, Africa Talks, and yeah, we may be having a little online get together before Christmas. Who knows?
Watch this space.
Watch this space. Do you want to get together before Christmas? Show of hands.
You're on a festive session.
Festive, like get some more reindeer.
Yeah. We're thinking of doing something a little more festive, but we don't know what it is yet. So if you've got ideas, do let us know. And I think it's now just time to...
So enthusiasm and ideas welcome. Thanks again to everyone very much.
Time to play the final tune, and well done, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a lovely evening. Thank you. Virtual snowball fight is today. Nice, good.
We need subtitles going.
Bye, everyone.
Okay, log out now, everyone.